Hello, my name's Alan Neely. The fly that we're going to be tying tonight is a fly that I'm calling the SYMI Beetle. It's the fly that we tied at the Strengthen Your Mind Initiative retreat in Glen Ellen, California in the spring of 2025. The fly that we're tying, basically it's a foam beetle, which means it's really, really durable. Some people love foam, some people don't like foam. I don't know, I like it. It's pretty durable, it floats really, really well. It's just a really, really good panfish fly. It's a derivation of Skip Morris's predator nymph, with just a couple little details that are changed here and there, but it's basically his fly that he's tying as well. So to start off, the fly that we're tying right now, the hook that we have, this is going to be an Umpqua hook. So it's a Tiemco 900BL. It's a size 10. Now we take a look at it, we can see it's a down eye. The wire is 1x fine, which is going to help it float a little bit more. It's also got a wide gap. So when we take a look at this distance here, this is going to allow it to get into the mouth of a bluegill relatively well. The thread that we're using tonight is this Ultra thread. Look at this, it's the Ultra, it's the 140. So it's a relatively thicker thread. I like it primarily because for beginning fly tyers, hard to break. Second thing, it's a larger diameter thread. It's about a 3/0, so it's not going to cut into the foam and cause us too many issues with that. So to start off, enough of me yakking, let's start tying. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start tying in the thread up here at the front of the hook. So I'm just going to wrap it around and start wrapping back a little bit. I'm going to take this, snip this off, get rid of the tag end as well. And then I'm just going to take some traveling wraps to go back and to coat the hook shank with thread all the way back to the point where at the very, very end of the hook shank, which is right over where the barb would be. That's a barbless hook, so there is no barb, but that's about where it's going to be. This is going to give us kind of a firm foundation to make sure when we tie in the material, it has something to bite into and has a little bit of purchase. Okay, the first thing that we're going to tie in is going to be the tail. Now this stuff is going to be some black crystal flash. Let me show you what it is. It's a synthetic twist. It's got shininess to it as well. It's the type of thing that drives bluegills nuts. They love this stuff. They're silly for it. So I've got about 4 strands, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie this in right at the end. I'm going to hold it on a 45-degree angle down. I'm going to pinch it, and I'm going to go over the top with a loose loop. Lash that in, and I'm going to go forward about 4 wraps just to make sure I tie that stuff down. Now I had 4 strands. If I take these and fold them back, now I'm going to have a total of 8 strands coming back, and I'm going to travel back to get the hook back to the point where we have our initial tie-in. There we go. Trimming this off, I'm going to look to be 1 distance, 1 hook shank length back. Give it a snip. Awesome. So now I've got this nice little shiny material here. It's going to be perfect. The next thing we're going to tie in is going to be a hot spot. Basically what we're using here is this like neon yellow glow bug yarn. It's synthetic, it's a polyester. It's not going to absorb a bunch of water. It's kind of neutrally buoyant, which is good. To start my tying, I'm going to advance my thread up to about the midway part of the point. I'm going to take this glow bug yarn, and I'm going to capture it by the tips. Let me clean off some of that fuzz a little bit, just so that's not just all messy. I'm going to take a loose wrap, and I'm going to secure that with 1, 2, 3 wraps as well. To keep this centered on top of the hook so it isn't rolling over and getting pushed by the torque of the thread, I'm going to hold this up, and when I wrap back, I'm going to slowly wrap back on top of that, and that's going to bind that to the hook. I want to take this all the way back to that initial tie-in point where we had the crystal flash. I don't want a lot of gap between here. And now I'm also going to take this and I'm going to travel the thread back forward, continuing to lash that down just a little bit further, about 2/3 up the hook. For the material here, what I'm planning on doing is I'm going to come in about a 1/4 inch or so, I don't know, 3/8, half a hook gap. I'm going to cut that, and I'm going to make this nice, bright little puff. I got a couple extra threads that didn't come off clean. Clean that up. Excellent. What that's going to do, it looks like nothing in nature, but it's this bright little spot on the tail end of the fly. It's going to help give you a little bit more visibility, so if you're throwing this on the surface of a pond into a shadow or something, you can see this little bright spot. It's going to be perfect as well. It's just a little hot spot. That's all it really is. And like I said, this part is going to be an attractor. The next thing we're going to tie in is going to be the foam. Now the foam that we have is going to be about a 4mm strip long, 40 millimeters long, 4 centimeters, and I'm a science teacher. It's 2 millimeters thick. To facilitate the tie-in, what I've done is I've trimmed off the corners of this too, making a little bit more of a blunt point. Okay, excellent. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab that by the tip and I'm just going to make a wrap, maybe a second wrap, just to secure that in place. I'm going to push this down and fold this so it's pushing down and this hook is going through the center of that. And I'm going to come back with just some medium tension wraps, 2, 3, 4, because I'm traveling that well. And I'm going to be right over that tie-in point. I'm going to come back forward now and I'm going to put a little bit more tension on that foam, binding that down a little bit tighter. That's going to be a pattern when we're putting in wraps on the foam, as we start with medium tension and then we move to the higher tension. And the reason, once again, is I don't want to have that thread pull down so tightly that it comes through and it cuts the foam. Okay, perfect. So now this is tied in, it's looking back, that looks excellent. And my thread is back into my initial tie-in point, because the next step, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some peacock curl, that's this stuff, okay, kind of green peacock curl. The cool thing is when it gets wet, it gets this beautiful bronzy look and it's iridescent and it just sparkles. And it looks really, really natural, and fish, generally speaking, tend to love it. So I've trimmed off the tips on this. I'm going to put this and I'm going to tie this in the top, and I'm going to tie and lash those butts of that down. I'm going to come back right to that tying point, and I'm going to pull, and I'm going to give myself a couple inches of thread down off my bobbin. Now I got my 3 strands, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these 3 strands and I'm going to start wrapping them clockwise around the thread. I love peacock curl, but one of the things it's not particularly strong, it's not particularly durable. So if I'm just wrapping peacock curl on a thread and not reinforcing it, all it takes is one tooth of a fish to come by here, and all of a sudden that peacock curl is going to break, and now my fly is going to unravel and it's going to look unwieldy. The reason why I'm going clockwise is I want to play with the twist. So I take this and start wrapping around. If I've done this clockwise, I'm putting one wrap in front of the other, building up that peacock curl body. As I wrap this around, I'm going to be continually tightening this and continuing this forward and getting to the point that that peacock curl is going to be reinforced, and I'm not going to lose a bunch. I'm going to take one more wrap just because I can. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is, because I was wrapping this and was continually twisting by putting that half turn every time I went around, I'm going to unwrap this to the point that I get to kind of a clean thread. I think that's it right there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come up, I'm going to go over the top, and I'm going to lash that with one more, and then a second. Perfect. Now that peacock curl is lashed to the hook, and it's not going to have any issues with this thing coming unwrapped. I've reinforced it with the thread, so it's really strong. To trim off the peacock curl, what I typically do is I'll put my hand behind this so the thread is on the far side of my finger. I come in and I just snip that off clean, and I don't cut my thread. This is the voice of experience talking. Okay? Perfect. So now what I'm going to need to do, oh, it's already tied in, is I'm going to need to take my foam slip and I'm going to fold this up over the top. I'm going to create the shell back for my beetle. Okay? So I'm going to put my finger over the top. It's going to be good. And I'm going to come around. I'm going to take one loose wrap. I'm going to pull slightly. Another wrap, pull a little bit tighter. Third wrap, pull a little bit tighter. Maybe 3, 4. And what I've done now is I pulled this over the top, and I've got a beautiful little shell back that's pretty even. If we take a look at that, we can kind of see exactly how that looks on the top. Okay? This is perfect. My goal now is to take this and to tie this down going forward up to the eye of the hook, because I want to create a little pad in here for myself to come in and tie in the wing, which is the next step. I'm going to need a little place for that butt end of that hair to sit. So I'm just going to go back and forth a couple different times, kind of compress that so I get this little area, which is going to be the landing pad for my wing. Now the wing, what we're going to use this is we're going to use some hairline, some white calf body hair. I like this stuff. That's what it looks like as well. It's on a cured patch, so unlike the calf tail, which a lot of people will use, this stuff won't stink up your house. Calf tails notoriously get to be a little stinky as well. So when we do this, typically I want to like cut in this direction with the hair. So I find the one point and then I'll just kind of work my way up this way about this. So that's just how we do it as well. I'm going to pull off a chunk of hair, probably about that much for a pinch. We have. Pull this out. Get in close to the hide, as close as we can. Give it a snip. Perfect. So there's my chunk of the body hair. Okay. Now, here's the thing, is the body hair has all these really, really short fibers, which are just going to get in the way. So if I hold it by the tips and knock it back and forth with my finger, you can see this begins to shed. Okay. Awesome. Now, the other thing I'm going to do is, because I have this, I want this to, I want to get those tips so they're relatively even as well. So one of the tools we'll use right now, this is a hair stacker. I don't know if you can see this back here, it's kind of out of focus. But this is a big brass hair stacker. I tended to tie a lot of bass bugs, so I wanted a really, really big one. Big ones work for small amounts of materials too, as well. But I'm going to take that, and I'm going to tap that up and down, and that is going to cause all those tips of those fibers to align. So it's going to make for kind of a thicker brush. Now, if I do this right, hello, yes, excellent, so much better. Okay, now when I look at this, let me show you. All the tips are stacked up nice and neatly. So I'm going to be able to take this, and I want the wing to come right about there, not all the way back, about halfway up the body. This is kind of the short little wing. Okay, I'm going to come over the top, and I'm going to take one wrap and a second wrap, and now it's on the place. Now, what I can do at this point is I can take this and I can maneuver this to make sure that it's centered on the top of the fly, because it may not be. And if it's a little long, I can pull this in and I can just adjust it and make sure it's exactly where I want it. Get rid of some of those long hairs. Okay, yeah, that's looking pretty good. Now to finish tying it in, I'm going to hold this in place. I'm going to wrap forward. One wrap, two wraps. I'm going to make sure I really lock in those fibers. Got all these butt ends out here that I'm going to need to get out of the way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay my scissors in and give it a snip. Okay, now if I didn't have a camera in the way, I could lean in here and kind of blow this stuff out. I could trim that a little bit tighter. Looks perfect. And get rid of the garbage. Tie that down. 1, 2. Coming back to that point right there where my shell back ends. I'm going to take my foam. I'm going to pull this back. And I'm going to create the head of this fly. Okay? Because my thread is back, and when I come up over the top now, if I pull this down, I'm going to make this really, really cute head. And I'm going to start off with the first wrap, medium tension. Second wrap, a little bit harder. Third wrap, a little bit harder yet. And now I've got this wing. You can see the basic form of the fly. Here's the head, here's the collar, here's the shell back, hot spot, flash boot tail. It's all really, really good. I got to trim this down. Quandary. If I just come in and cut like that, I'm also going to cut the calf tail. So I have to kind of maneuver this around a little bit. See if I can get in the way of my lights. Make sure that I'm not getting the calf tail. Look it in. Looks pretty good. Give it a snip. Moment of truth. Perfect. Hey, cat. I'm shooting a video. So when we look at it right now, we can see that I've got these square tips. That's a little long yet. Let's see if I can trim that down just a little bit more. Awesome. Now also, I have these corners here that I want to get rid of as well, because that begins to look a little bit like Dracula. So if I come in and with the tips of the scissors and just knock off the corners of that straight cut, I begin to get this cute little curved thing. Well, that's looking really good. I like the way that that looks. Got a little short wing. Everything's fantastic. I got a head. The last thing that we have, the last material, is this stuff right here. It's the little rubber legs. I got these from the Fly Shop. These are the silicone legs. It's white with a silver flake. Looks very much like a bass boat. Speaking of bass, that's what these materials are. When you look at this, this is basically spinnerbait skirt. If you've ever gone fishing for bass and fished like a big spinnerbait that had those big like tentacle legs on it, that's exactly what this stuff is, which is cool. If you're looking for really interesting colors, you can always go into a bass shop and they got like 1 million different colors, more than the Fly Shop, and they're less money. Sorry, I'm not supposed to say that. So I had to tie in these legs. My wife will never fish a bug for bluegill or bass that doesn't have rubber legs on them. So once again, they move, fish love them, they just catch. First one is easy. I'm going to hold this in place. I'm going to take one wrap over the top, and I'm just going to leave that. So that one single wrap and thread is going to allow me to take and move this around and slide it back and forth to make sure that it's even. Pull a little bit of tension on it, do one more wrap. That's where these are. I don't want to bury that underneath a ton of wraps yet because this allows me to move it around. The one for the back side, this one is a little bit trickier because unless you want to get up and walk around the other side of the desk and do this backwards, it gets to be a problem. Easy way to take care of this, if I take my leg, wrap it around the thread, and hold it up in place, now I've got that kind of position, and I'll take one more wrap, and I'll hold this. Okay, now I got to make sure everything's adjusted. You can see here that this thing is just kind of cocked up and all weird because it's caught in that crease. I'm going to pull this down. That's looking a little bit better. I can rearrange these, slide them around, even them out, make sure that they're not like twisted in like at a weird angle. Now is the time to fix them because once we like throw another wrap or two, we're going to lock these things in place and they're not going to go anywhere. So I got these big drapey legs. Everything's perfect. I'm going to take one, two more wraps around, and everything's going to be locked in place. Okay? Perfect. Time to get to the point where we tie off our fly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my left hand, I'm going to sweep this stuff back, get those legs out of the way. I'm going to transfer my thread up around the eye of the hook. You can see it here. And I'm going to take 1, 2, 3 wraps around the eye of the hook. And then I'm going to throw in either a series of half hitches, because those are easier, or I'm a whip finish guy. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to do one of my whip finishes by hand. Some people use tools. I figure if I learned how to whip finish by hand, I would never have to pick up an extra tool. But I do a whip finish. I'm going to tighten this up, move down, make sure I don't catch a leg, pull that tight, and we should be good. We get rid of the thread without cutting a leg. Yeah, come here. That leg is making me nervous. This whole thing's making me nervous. I'm a mess. Come on. There it is. Eyesight is the first thing to go. Okay, so now I've got the head off this one too. I'm basically done. One of the things you can do right now is you're trying to figure out where do I trim the legs? Because if they're really long, bluegill are just going to grab them and they're never going to attack your fly, and it's fine. The smart way to do this, the first time you're doing this, you want to take one of your hind legs and you want to get it to the point where it kind of catches in the bend. That's the other thing that these things will do if you're not careful. If I catch it in the bend and it looks like that, I can come in with my scissors and just give that quick little pop. Boom. And that's going to be the length that we need to have. The front leg is going to be a little bit longer. And now I've got perfectly spaced legs. Let me get rid of that scrap as well. I could do this on the other side. And when I'm first starting off trying to tie the fly to get everything nice, it's going to be good. But I can kind of eyeball that and hold that at an angle and ta-da. Just because I've been tying this for a little bit. There we go. All right, perfect. I've got my fly. It looks pretty good. The last thing I'm going to need to do is I'm going to need to protect this area because this is nothing but thread underneath here. And if this is set up wrong, it's going to, I don't know, that's the weak spot in the fly. In the class, we actually used a little bit of head cement. If I'm tying for myself, I tend to use this, this Bone Dry. It's a UV cement. Greg Senio kind of turned me onto it. He uses it in all of his flies. It's really, really good stuff. As well. So I'm just going to come in and I'm going to put a little dab of that over the thread just to protect that area as well. Bonus tip, don't get it near the eye of the hook because if you do, you'll glue your eye shut and it won't work. I'm going to come in with my UV light. Here's this brand of UV light. It's the Alone Fire. Jeff Dendy turned me onto this one too. We're complaining that my UV light had broken, and he's like, go get this one. It's really cheap. You can get it on Amazon, and it works really, really well. It's got a rechargeable battery, which is awesome. So really, with just about that amount of UV light on it, what I've done is I've cured that. I've got this really, really hard UV cement. I think we stole it from Dentists, is where we got this from. And there it is. That's the SYMI Beetle in its full glory. So I wanted to make sure you guys knew how to tie this. Hopefully it works. you'll said you'll have this attached to the video. Like I said, once again, my name's Alan Neely, and I'm with Strengthen Your Mind Initiative. I hope you guys learned a lot. Take care.